And happy holidays. Today we'll be doing another nootropic review, and this time I'll be reviewing Phenibut or Phenibut, whatever the pronunciation is. It's a bit of an odd sounding compound. And now this is a derivative of the neurotransmitter GABA, which is 4-aminobutyric acid. And so what Phenibut is simply a phenyl group in the beta position, and so hence the Phenibut. So what this substance is it's a sedative drug developed by Russian scientists. As when they were doing the Russian space program, they wanted a sedative to deal with like the anxiety and things while doing these missions, but they didn't want the sort of impairment people get from benzodiazepines and other such similar sedatives. And so Phenibut's pharmacology is structurally similar but distinct to the more well-known sedatives such as alcohol and barbiturates and benzodiazepines, because those drugs work as positive allostatic modulators at the GABA-A receptor, and so when they enhance the activity of the GABA-A receptor, this causes chloride to flow into the neuron, and when chloride flows into the neuron becomes more negatively charged, and in order to have an action potential you need a positive charge from chloride coming in, and so by making it more negatively charged it makes it more difficult to have these action potentials, and thus you've got lower activity in the brain. And now with Phenibut, what it does is it causes potassium to flow into the neuron, and when you've got potassium in the neuron, this reduces the chance of the sodium channel opening, and thus you're not getting any sodium coming in, and sodium is what causes these action potentials. And so now that's a brief overview of its pharmacology. Some other interesting points to notice about it is that if you carefully look at its structure, you can actually see, just zooming out here, that it's a phenethylamine, see? And so there's been some discussion about whether this affects dopamine in some ways, and I'm not sure if it does. I'll need to troll through the research. But in terms of its effects, Phenibut does possess effects similar to benzodiazepines and alcohol. However, I found its effects to be much more subtle. It is it's got a reasonable onset. It kicks in about 35 to 40 minutes in, as opposed to something like alprazolam where you'd be getting effects in like 10-15 minutes. And it's definitely an anxiolytic. It calms you down, and it's actually slightly euphoric, but there's none of that sort of disinhibition which people get with alcohol, and to a lesser extent the benzodiazepines, particularly ones like triazolam and clonazepam. Those are the two which are most infamous for that, but all of them to differing degrees do that, and with Phenibut there's a lot less of that. Another interesting thing to note about its structure is that it's quite similar to the recreational drug GHB in terms of its effects, since GHB, like Phenibut, works as an agonist at the GABA-B receptor. However, GHB also works as an agonist at the GHB receptor, believe it or not, and so that contributes to its effects, and that's why overall Phenibut's got a better safety profile. So GHB type drugs have a bad reputation because they're supposedly used as date rape drugs, and I can tell you that you're not going to be able to do any of that with Phenibut, as it's got an absolutely foul taste. You'll definitely want to take it with some capsules if you're taking it, as it's this horrible mix of distinctly sour with this sort of like fatty sort of taste. It's absolutely vile. But yeah, and that's a quick overview of its effects in pharmacology. Personally, I found it to be quite a good sleep aid. I found that it actually produces quite a restful sleep, and unlike other sort of sedatives, it doesn't make you groggy at all the next day. It leaves you quite refreshed, quite energized, and it also causes quite vivid dreams, much in the same way which I mentioned that aniracetam and Noofen do. And unlike those, the dreams are much more sort of vivid in there, and it seems more consistent in doing that than the other two. So with aniracetam Noofen, you'll occasionally get like a really vivid dream, but with Phenibut it's almost like every time. And one of the dreams, funnily enough, was a dream about having, it was a very meta-like dream within a dream. It was a dream about having enhanced dreams from Phenibut, which I thought was quite funny. Anyway, so when I got this stuff from the eBay seller Vantage CC, which was the same dude which I got the Noofen from. And he obviously didn't send it in this nice hand-labeled bottle. That was me. The packaging it came in is, let's see if I can find it, just one of these type ones, which, you know, the shipping time was also very reasonable. It took like about a week to arrive. And so yeah, this is my quick look at Phenibut. And so I'm planning some more, you know, nootropic videos in the future. Like I'll at some stage be wanting to review phenylpiracetam, which is quite an interesting drug that's quite similar to piracetam, but it's said to be more stimmy. Like in fact, its structure is actually, people have seen some similarities in its structure to the drug 4-methylaminorex. So there might be some dopamine norepinephrine action going on top of the usual glutamate type AMPA receptor enhancement which you usually get from the racetams, but that's a bit of a tangent. I also at some stage will be looking at oxyracetam, which I've been procrastinating about getting that for a while. And then lastly, just one last thing I'll say is that I've actually become a YouTube partner, which means, you know, I've got an incentive to make more of these videos. Like the only thing about being a YouTube partner is you sort of feel like a bit of a sellout, since I'm not sure how intense the advertising Google/YouTube, you know, they're all one and the same, actually puts into the videos. Or I use AdBlock Plus to deal with that, so if you're a Firefox Chrome user, you know, I'll definitely recommend that. Okay, that sums up my video.